Hey, everybody, welcome to Making Sense of It All. As part of our series, As Professionals Anything But Golf, Wes and I talked about kind of wrapping up this year, talking about this. It was a lot of fun when it popped up, but the LIV PGA Tour match play event that's going to be concluding kind of this 2024 year, kind of interesting. Wes, thanks so much for joining. I'm excited to talk about this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about time there's a live PGA Tour, some type of grudge match going on. I think they're the four probably best choices. You got Scottie and Rory against Bryson and Brooks. I think those are probably the best ones you could put up there, maybe outside of Phil Mickelson, but I'm sure he's got a conflict with this being the showdown and not the match.
Hey, he can put some money on
I'm sure he will too.
it. Well, it's funny. I was thinking about it, and it's if you can have Mike Tyson come out of retirement and fight Jake Paul, then by God, you should be able to get some of the best golfers in the world to put together an event and entertain people. So, I mean, I feel like that's what we're getting. We're getting something purely for entertainment. We're getting something to where for the last several years, everyone says the best golfers on the planet aren't on the same or in the same field together, and so we're going to get something here. And I think that there was a lot of buzz when they talked about it. It seems like it's
Mhm.
quieted down, lately. It doesn't seem like they've talked a whole lot about it, but I do feel as we kind of get into the week of, I think there's going to be a lot of excitement around it.
Yeah, I would definitely would hope so, especially getting a little bit more, trying to get a little bit more grudge matchy, maybe try and entice a little bit of a feud between somebody. But, they did a Golf Digest shoot cover together and looked like everyone was happy and go lucky. So I think if they would have put a little bit of a twist in there, gave a little bit of an edge,
Little WWE feel.
I think so. I think so. I think you need something like that, especially, professional sports is basically an entertainment product. Like, give us something entertaining. But I think that
Well,
they're at least starting. They're starting in the right direction.
agreed. Well, and not for nothing, every single person in this has benefited enormously from Live being created. They've all made
Mhm.
more money. It's not like one side made a ton of money and the other didn't. Every player made more money.
Yeah, I mean the purses went through the roof, especially on the PGA Tour. You got $25 million purses here and there. The majors got elevated, which they should be because those are the best fields in golf. So we got a lot of benefit from Live for the PGA Tour guys that, they're starting to make more money. I think that may have hurt the professional game a little bit because I think people are like, well, I don't really care that they're making more money. How's the product going to get better? And
Sure.
hopefully something like this, you'll start seeing, both tours. 'Cause it sounds like they're getting close to a deal. This becomes something a little bit more on a regular basis. Because I saw a tweet somewhere that they were thinking that Bryson or Brooks told someone, and they reported out that this wouldn't be the last. So maybe we got something a Ryder Cup type format coming down the pipe if this is successful though.
I was about to say, I'm sure it's just like anything else. If they get ratings, if they sell advertising, you'll see another one.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the number one. I think that's a big thing with golf is the TV contracts and all that kind of stuff. You get all the commercials that have to be brought on, and hopefully a little injection and some extra money from the PIF. They can start closing those windows just a little bit, not interrupt a lot of good shots you end up seeing.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think that, you know, way back in, several years ago when this first happened, you had people like Phil Mickelson that were very outspoken saying that the PGA Tour created this. They were the ones who kind of made this happen and left the room for somebody to step in and create another tour. Do you feel like that's the case? Do you feel like that really this is kind of it's a devil of their own making, if you will?
Yeah, 100%. Especially looking back on, was this third or fourth year for Liv? I mean,
I think
they
third
made
full
their
year.
yeah. So I mean, they made their mark. Everyone thought they would fold after a year or two, but they made their mark. And hindsight's 2020. They should have sat down at least at the table with the Saudis and been like, all right, what are you thinking? Instead of just not taking phone calls and basically, we're the best thing that ever happened. There's no way anyone can ever take over. I think that's the mistake when you look back on it. I mean, it's easy to
Right.
say now, but at the time, I don't know. I don't know what pressure the commissioner Jay Monahan was getting from the players on don't you dare talk to him, like, but it is his job to increase the prize pool for these players and make the tour better. So uh, it definitely helped. I mean,
Well,
and
there's so many
I'll be
rabbit holes. There's so many rabbit holes we can go
100%.
down here because it's the Saudi money that everyone acted like they were the villains of this story when this
Mhm,
first happened. But look at every sport. I mean, they're trying to get into the NFL. They are absolutely funding boxing. It seems like right now they're trying to get into UFC. They are putting
mhm.
money behind the WWE product, and they're having. I
Yep.
mean, they're bringing every American sport, every worldwide sport to Saudi Arabia as many times as possible, and they are paying top dollar to see sports and entertainment.
I mean, 100%. Like, I'll be the first to say, Phil was right. It pains me to say that sometimes, but he was right. He was right. And, not letting these players that did defect over, they own their rights again. They own their likeness again. Like they can do the social media. I mean, look at Bryson. I mean,
Oh, 100%.
Bryson, for me, like it was hard for me to digest him sometimes because it was weird, right? And him going to live, he had some common ground with other people that, they're kind of all in the same, oh, hey, it's us against the world right now. So, and then he was able to kind of show who he really was. He's super smart when it all with the golf stuff and how he's doing his social media. And it's cool to see how his brain works and his real personality. Because it just felt like he was always pissed off or there's always a controversy around him on the tour. I just think he just felt so boxed in and I don't think he was that well liked. I think he was kind of misunderstood on the tour. And now you're seeing a different side of Bryce. I mean, God, look at the hole in one challenge over his house. I mean,
Right.
millions of views. I mean, and now you're looking at
Kids
the
are
tour.
emulating it. They're putting it on simulators. It's fantastic.
It's fantastic. And that's where golf is heading. It's turning younger. You want the younger eyes on it. Being able to do stuff like this and like, oh, golf is kind of cool. This guy's hitting over his freaking house. It's just all windows, multi-million-dollar house. Like, here we go. Here goes Bryson just smashing balls over I mean, he's not hitting his house, but you're like, what if he
But
does thin one?
there's a chance he could
It's
have.
like, that'd be pretty sick if you just thin one right into one of those panes of glasses. But it probably wasn't going to happen, however far it would have went, even though he accomplished it in day
No, but
16 or
think
whatever.
about what you're saying, because I mean, you and I have known each other a while now, and you were not a huge fan of Bryson's. Like it was,
Mm,
and you weren't bashful about saying it. You just weren't a big fan. But somebody else created an image around him as a person, and then they tried to cast him in a role essentially on the PGA Tour. He had no control over it.
hmm
He could not go out and make his own content. They would block him from doing so.
yeah.
And so he had to deal with however they decided to cast him, he had to deal with it.
Yeah.
I'm sure it affected the money that he made in endorsements. It affected
hmm
how club manufacturers looked at him. All of it directly impacted him as a person, him as a player, him as an athlete. And now, like to me, that's one of the biggest aha moments with this whole thing to me is he took complete control of his image.
Yeah.
He took complete control of his equipment. I mean,
hmm
when the whole thing happened with him and Cobra,
Yep.
he looked like the asshole. He did.
Sure.
But I mean, you look back on it now, and he's got 3D printed irons that are to his specs that he wants. He's got a driver from Crank that was a long drive head that is working far better for him than what the Cobra driver did. And
Yep.
in a partridge in a pear tree, whatever, however down you want to go with that. But
Yeah.
when you freed the guy up to say, here's who I am, and here's the equipment that I want to play, what a difference! I mean,
Yeah.
it's amazing to me, and it's eye opening because it's like you've got these people that essentially were controlled by a single player in an industry or in a sport in this particular case, and now you're seeing here's what's possible with these guys. They can be entertaining. They can be their own brand. They can do things.
hmm
And I think it's, I mean, to me, I'm a huge fan of that. I'm a huge fan of even seeing the stuff with some of the YouTube golfers like Grant Horvath and seeing
hmm
it like what he's done with Phil Mickelson or what he's done with John Rahm, Bryson DeChambeau, all of
Yep.
these guys, Sergio Garcia playing matches on
Yeah.
YouTube. I mean, Sergio was, I mean, typecast as a whiner and as, kind of a negative guy on the PGA Tour. And now it's like
Yeah,
he gets to be whoever he is now.
yeah, and I think that frees people up to just be who they are too, not be shy or hesitant on what they say because they can twist it, and some of those frustrations came from probably being on the tour and being handcuffed, like you pointed out. So I think you gotta look at Liv. He kind of freed up some personalities, and I think that's fantastic for the game. I mean, I can't tell you, I consume more golf stuff like with Bryson and that stuff on YouTube than I do watching a regular PGA Tour event. I mean,
I do too. Same. I'm
and unfortunately, I hate to say it because I like golf and I like to watch it, but the product sucks. Like it's just not a good product to watch unless it's a major. Yeah, it's just kind of like, okay, I'll watch it and take a nap and wake up with 3 holes left. Like
right.
it's not what I want to do. Like I actually want to watch it, and I don't know how you spice it up. That's way above my pay grade or my knowledge base, but there has to be something that they can do a little bit better to make it easier to watch. I don't, they could be, especially on like a Friday when guys fighting for the cut, show those guys,
Right.
show them they're human, show them the struggle, like how important it is to make a cut for some of the guys on the PGA Tour. Like they're fighting for their livelihood, some of these guys. And if they're fighting for the cut, they're probably not playing the best golf in the world for them. So it's a struggle, and you get to see them miss greens and get up and down and miss the 4-footer that you think everyone makes every single time. So I think they just got to get a little bit more creative as far as how we consume it.
I think you have to be willing to fail. I mean, you look
Oh
at,
yeah.
I think about, it's weird because some of the guys that were the most entertaining announcers to me, like a David Faraday or a Gary McCord, you see them disappear from the PGA Tour broadcast, and then they're replaced with these vanilla personalities that aren't
Mhm.
aren't that great. And some of the people that they've brought in, I mean, some of the players that they've actually brought in are
Yeah.
are funny as hell. And when they
Yeah.
actually do some of the stuff to where Smiley Kaufman or some of these guys are sitting there like actually like talking to the players and
Yeah.
interacting or doing stuff on a par three where they're kind of joking around taking bets, it's
Yeah.
entertaining. It's
Yeah.
and it needs we need more of that. We need more entertainment interjected into something that they seem like they're really trying very hard to keep traditional. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, they did. I thought they also did a good job when they took one hole and they kind of interviewed the player as they walked, or played the hole basically, left them
right
floating.
they had an AirPod in their ear.
Yeah, I mean, that was like, okay, yeah, that you're onto something now. Getting every player on board, probably not going to happen, or you're not going to do it on Sunday with 4 holes left. But somewhere, you start getting these players that have the personality. Max Homa was great when he did it. Like you get these guys doing. Joel Damon, another good one.
Right.
You get those guys doing it, and you got Smiley or Colt Nose, interviewing these guys, walking up and down the fairways. That's their peer group essentially.
Yep.
Smiley doesn't play anymore, but he's good friends with JT and Jordan Spieth. So, and from all intents and purposes, it looks like he's very well respected just on the range itself. Like just walking up and down, he can chat with people. The players trust him that he's not gonna, twist something to make it TV good. He's just gonna, say what he's learning on the range. And if a player tells him, "Hey, don't say anything about this," and it's a camera conversation, he ain't gonna say anything about it.
Sure.
He's mentioned that on his podcast. He's like, I hear stuff all the time. It's like, hey, just don't talk about that, and he doesn't. So he has the trust. So these players eventually are going to be like, all right, I can tell him something. Might be a little controversial, but he's not going to twist it and make it out more than what it was just in the conversation. So they're getting there. It's just it needs to be more. And like you said, fail a couple times because failing on something you're trying new, I don't think is going to hurt you in the long run.
I can't point at the exact rules. I know that there was some with punt returns. There was some with like just little rules that when the XFL originally came out years ago, when Vince McMahon started it, it failed very quickly. But the
Yeah.
NFL looked at it and said, "Hey, there's certain things that they did that were really good," and they actually picked
Yeah.
up some of their stuff. They integrated it, and I keep waiting for the PGA Tour to kind of do the same. Like, look at what Liv is doing, and admit
Hmm.
some of the stuff is entertaining. They may not want to do a shotgun start every day. but certain
Yeah.
things like, I mean, and I guess you're seeing them start to say, hey, we're going to have some no cut events, and some
Yeah.
people complain about it. But
Hmm.
in my opinion, they're selling us entertainment. To your point,
Yeah.
like if you're asking me to sit down on my couch or sit at a bar or do wherever, I mean, watch wherever I'm at, you're
Hmm.
saying, invest 4+ hours in my television program. Number one thing you got to do is entertain me. So to
Yeah.
me, it's the players have to understand that as well. They cannot, like, I don't think players can kind of get on a high horse and say, well, this is not how we want this done, because you got to make money. You got to, I mean, if you don't
Yeah.
have money, you don't have a PGA tour.
No, you don't. And, golf is brutal. It's you kill what you eat. So
Sure.
those guys, a lot of those guys, just because you might have amazing endorsements and you might make tens of millions of dollars, but that doesn't mean you're going to hold your PGA Tour card if you don't play well.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, to stay on the tour, you got to play well. You got to do good at your job.
Hmm.
It's kind of real world shit. Like if you don't do well at your job, they're going to let you go. It's kind of the same thing here. Don't do your job and play well, you're gone. Let the
Right.
next guy try and come in and make the product better because we don't know what's out there still.
Hmm.
Like I like how the tours use the getting the number one college player and how they have that ranking system that they earn their way onto the tour.
Yeah.
That was smart to keep the young talent there. Like your Ludwig's, I think he's going to be a killer one day. Like he's already so good, but I mean, he could have been one if he didn't get on the tour. And let's say he didn't play well in Q school, didn't earn money on sponsors exemptions. What kept him from not going to live with a big
Right.
paycheck? We don't know.
100.
I
Yeah.
mean, we don't know. And he probably doesn't know until he had a check, of $250 million put down in front of him. I can't ever say I blame the guys for going with that amount of money, but
Yeah. I've never
also,
had that
also,
problem before.
no, but all, no, no, no. But also don't tell us like you went because you're trying to grow the game. That was bullshit. Like
Yeah.
in the beginning, it was like, hey, dude, they put down a shit ton of money. I took it. I think DJ basically said that. He's like, yeah, I play less golf and I got a lot of money.
All right. So
So okay,
let me challenge that though for a second, because you're
yeah,
not wrong. DJ's right. You never see that guy. He goes and
mm-mm.
plays on live. He plays worse and worse as he goes along. The guy's probably happy as a clam, but
Yeah,
he's the guy who definitely did it for the money. No
hmm,
disrespect. I think he's tremendous.
yeah,
But you look at a guy like Bryson, he really has grown the game. Like that guy
yeah,
really did. He took the money and he took the chance to grow the game of golf. I mean, nobody can argue, I don't think, that he hasn't
mm.
grown the game of golf.
Oh no, you know, I think the vast majority that went were going for the money, but they're,
Yeah.
saying I was doing it. I'm not saying everyone, but the vast majority, especially in the beginning, like the older guard of the Ryder Cups, like your Poulters and Westwoods, and the guys were coming to the end of their career, and they probably couldn't end up competing week in, week out against the young guns. Their
Yeah.
time was passing, and they saw an opportunity. They were still relevant. They were still a name. Took the money. I
Sure.
mean, I, I would have it hard to believe that the majority of people in that similar situation in their industry wouldn't have done the same thing.
I 100% agree. I
Yeah.
think that anybody, I mean, especially when you have a question mark on one side and somebody else has got an enormous number in front of you, there is no question. I know what I would do.
Yeah. I would raise my hand. I'd be gone. Like,
Yeah,
no, wait a minute. I'm going to make 30, 40x and do less. Okay, bye.
no doubt.
And yeah, and I mean, people are always like, oh, the travel. I'm like, yes, so, but they're not
Right.
traveling every week. Oh, but they're going to different countries. That's kind of cool. I'm going to see like 16 kind of different countries or, places during this career. Okay, that sounds pretty good. And it's, contracts are what, 4 or 5 years or something like that.
Right.
Do that for my 4 or 5 years, and then I can just say, okay, now I'm done. Now I
I think
really
Pat
saw the
Perez is
world.
doing just fine.
Oh God, yeah. I mean that's a perfect example, right?
Yes.
He really hasn't done a thing while on live. He helped the four aces, I guess, when the team championship makes some money, but he got his paycheck and he's just going out there living the life.
No doubt. No doubt. So let me ask you that along these lines. It seems like, and you tell me if I'm wrong, because you probably know much better than I do. Before Liv came along, the equipment companies within golf, the big equipment companies, TaylorMade, Titleist, Callaway, all of these guys, they really did have a pretty tight hold on the game as far as they're the major sponsors as far as TV advertising. They've got their hats or their hats, clubs, bags, everything on most major stars. Like
Yep.
I really do feel like, and I'm not making this up, other people have said it as well, that Liv has freed up players to not be so dependent on an equipment contract for money outside of what they're winning.
Yeah. No, that, yeah, I agree. Like you can play whatever you want. It seems like the manufacturers are still at live events. Um, Maybe not all of them, but getting equipment doesn't seem like a problem anymore. Yeah, I think they can kind of go be free agents a little
Yeah.
bit. And if they have to pay for it, I mean, we're talking, pennies to them getting a new club.
Right. Well,
But
and
I
I
think,
think it gives these people an opportunity, like somebody who wanted to get into the club business or somebody who made really good equipment but didn't have a name. If they can get somebody to try their stuff and realize it's better, they can get it in their bag now too, compared to where it used to be. Like maybe they were hoping that the club company would hire them to get it into the players'
yeah,
bags. Now if it's better, they can their clubs will be played on television.
oh yeah, yeah. I think a big one that's going to probably make some noise. Crank. I
Hmm.
think the more Crank gets out there and Bryson talks about it more, that's going to be. I think they've got something that might be going.
I know
E-
Jason
Even
Hyland
like
talked about it when we had the
oh yeah,
conversation with Jason
yeah.
Hyland at Sub Zero. I mean, they look at that as a tremendous opportunity to get validation from the
Hmm.
tour, but it's
Yep.
live where they can actually go get their stuff in people's hands and get it
Yeah.
played.
Well, that's why I mean Callaway and TaylorMade jumped on fast with these creators, the golf creators, your Grants, your Good Goods.
Yeah.
They jumped on them fast, but they saw it. They're like, hey, that one guy or that one group gets more eyes on them than one of our PJ Tour players playing in the last group
Yeah.
over a longer period of time. Like people still go back and watch their videos and see, the good guys playing the Callaway stuff. I'm like, oh
Right.
crap, that's my favorite creator group or whatever, and that gets more eyes, and your probably return is a lot better than it is paying tour players.
No doubt.
And I think will probably see most of those club manufacturers. They're starting to like, oh, let's throw some more money over at the content creators because there's more eyes there and younger eyes.
Yep.
The young professionals that have disposable income and they might be watching that too. Kids, parents and kids. If kids show an interest, parents are going to open up the wallet.
That's
So
right.
I mean, you have it. I mean, they're seeing the trends. These companies aren't stupid.
Yep.
They're multi-million, almost slash billion-dollar companies. They know what they're doing. They're just
100%.
being, and that's why I think you saw. I think there was actually a drop off on club deals in general on the PGA Tour, like shortly after Liv came on, because that's when the content creators really started picking up some steam as well.
Yeah. All right, so the match, or I guess it's the showdown,
The
excuse me,
showdown,
next
showdown, baby.
next week. So who you got?
I mean, can you bet against Scottie Scheffler right now? I don't care who his teammate is. Like, it's tough. I mean, I got to go. This is what I'm hoping at. Scottie keeps playing like Scottie, and Rory's been carrying the torch for the PGA Tour and kind of got slighted. I'm pretty sure he doesn't want to lose to a live
Mhm.
group, to be honest with you. Yeah, I would. I'm going to lean towards Scottie and Rory. I just think Scottie's just so damn good, and I think I'll take some pressure off of Rory, so Rory can
Yeah.
kind of freewheel it a little bit. Um, I haven't seen Brooks play that much, so I don't know where his game is and how it's progressing. Bryson's hitting
Sure,
the
it's
ball
pretty
over
good.
his house. Oh, I'm sure it is, but you just don't. It's hard to compare. And I mean, have you seen how they're breaking down the 18 holes?
I have not. What are they doing?
It, I like this, and see, this is the good twist. They're trying stuff. Uh, so it's going to be three 6-hole segments. So your first six is going to be best ball. Middle six is going to be alternate shot, and then singles over the last closing holes, last six closing holes.
Interesting.
I get it. I like it.
Yeah,
I wish the
I don't hate it.
singles, I don't hate it. The singles, if they really want to throw a monkey wrench in the whole thing, worst ball scramble. Like you want to throw these guys a monkey wrench, throw that at them.
Yeah. I was
I
about to
think
say
that'd be
you might have somebody fighting.
yeah, maybe might be between the teams, but supposedly Bryson and Brooks are all good now according to Brooks, and so
That's the one thing I feel like, I feel like Bryson and Brooks have a lot to prove, and it's not
Mhm.
necessarily they don't have anything to prove as golfers, but I think that they both have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. You got Brooks Koepka, who's arguably the greatest major champion of today's era. And I don't think he ever gets the credit for as good as he is and as well as he plays majors. And if you look at even his finishes outside of winning, the guy is a machine when it comes to stepping up in events that matter to him. So if
Yep.
this event matters to him, like if he cares about this, I think he's going to play lights out.
Yeah.
I think that DeChambeau, in my opinion, he always seems like he's a guy who feels like he has something to prove, and he
Mhm.
seems like maybe he had a little bit of a maybe he feels a little inadequate in some ways or whatever. But I feel like he always is trying to prove himself, whether it's as a creator or if it's as a golfer. And I think that I just feel like they've got something to play for here. If they win,
Sure.
I think if they win, it means more than if Scheffler and Rory win. Like if Scheffler and Rory win, people are going to be like, yeah, they won. And it's like you
Yeah.
said, Scheffler. Can you ever bet against Scheffler? Well,
Yeah.
I think I can. I think I can take.
Mhm.
I could get really comfortable with DeChambeau and Koepka, maybe even stomping a mud hole in these guys if
Yeah.
they feel like they've got something to prove. Because I know what you're saying about Rory, but I think Rory shrinks from the moment. And I hate to
Mhm.
call out somebody who's one of the absolute greatest golfers of all time, but for the last 10 years, the guy has shrank from the big moment. And so
Yeah.
if he puts too much pressure on himself in this moment, I think you see him play poorly.
Yeah. And or with it being kind of match play situation like this, he's a good match player. Like he likes the Ryder Cup,
Sure.
and if he has that spark, hey, this is kind of mini Ryder Cup for me because these live guys have been talking shit. But who knows what that sparks in him? I don't know.
Right.
And that's the thing. Like you don't hear Rory talking about this match. You don't hear Scottie Scheffler really talking about it. You don't really hear Bryson and Brooks Koepka talking. I mean, they're probably talking more. I see more on their social about it than the other
Well,
two.
and so does like Liv is promoting this. Like if you look at
Oh
their
yeah, big
socials,
time.
Liv is pushing this out. I don't see the PGA Tour pushing this out so
Mm-mm.
much.
I have, and if they are, I've missed it. But I've across my feed, it's definitely been live dominant as far as pushing this forward because like 7 days left, 6 days left.
Right.
They're like counting it down. PGA Tour has done nothing
Well,
that
that's
I have seen.
they have nothing to gain. I was really surprised when I saw that this happened because not that I didn't want to see it because I absolutely want to see it, but
Mhm.
I was really surprised when it happened because to me, what benefit does this have for the PGA Tour? I mean, it's the same thing as when these live guys have won the majors. When Koepka won
Yeah,
a major, when Bryson's won a major, like it doesn't like all of this just detracts from the PGA Tour. It devalues the tour, in my opinion. So I mean, somebody either had to strong arm them, or there had to be a way for Scheffler and Roy McIlroy to participate without having the tour's approval.
yeah. I mean, I'm doing a quick scroll through. Obviously, they're
Yeah,
promoting, that Scottie Scheffler's Player of the Year. We know that. That was a given. But I mean, PNC, they're
right.
promoting that next week. A
Yeah.
lot of Scottie Scheffler stuff, little Justin Thomas, but there's nothing. I'm s- I'm going. I'm at 2 days back now, and I haven't seen one. It's also. I mean, it may as well be Scottie Scheffler's feed at this point because I've scrolled 2 or 3 pages down, and I'd say 90% of it is just basically Scottie Scheffler stuff.
And that's the thing. I think Scheffler is an amazing golfer. He is
Mhm.
absolutely fantastic. I don't know if he draws ratings. Like I don't know if people, buy things because of Scotty Scheffler.
Yeah,
I don't know if he's that guy. Like I again, I think tremendously of him as a golfer, but I'm not the person as much of a golf fan as I am and as much as I enjoy the sport. I'm probably not going to buy a ticket to the Players to watch Scotty Scheffler, but I would buy one to watch Tiger Woods maybe make the cut. Like I
Yeah.
would buy one to watch Dechambeau if he walked back in there. Like
Hmm.
I mean, there are definitely players that I want to see because they have a personality and because they're interesting to me.
Yeah.
It makes me root for them. Like, and
Yeah.
Scheffler is an amazing person. It sounds like he's a really good guy, a good husband, a good father. I just don't know what that turns into as far as marketing and if it's effective.
Yeah. I think they're trying to do something just based on the speed.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah. I mean, everything about Scottie, I I like his game. Like, how can you not when it's just that good? And I hate saying Tiger-esque, but I mean, he's putting up Tiger numbers. Granted, it hasn't been for as long as Tiger did, but it's Tiger-esque. I mean, so hell yeah, it's fun to watch. Hell yeah,
it
it's
is
fun to
fun to watch,
watch.
but you've
But
also
it's not Tiger.
it's not Tiger and like dare I say again, Liv has split the field or taken a lot of the best players out of these fields. And so when Tiger was doing it, he was beating everybody that was the best in
Yep,
the world. When Scheffler was
correct.
doing it, he's not.
Hmm. And I think what's kind of interesting with Liv and the people they, ended up taking from the PGA Tour, it was a lot of the personality guys,
Hmm.
like a lot of them, or even controversial guys. Like, Patrick Reed's kind of that good example, right? Like people know him because,
He's
stuff that
interesting.
surrounds, he's interesting. He says shit.
He's
Um,
either, but he can be infamous or famous, but
yeah,
he's still interesting.
yeah. So even like your Ian Poulter's, like, the Ryder Cup stalwart.
We're waiting for Patrick Reed to drop a ball out of his pocket for God's sakes. I mean, like whatever it is, we still want to see it.
Well, the thing is, no one watches, so we'll never know if it happens or not. But it really is, I forgot who said it, but it's like they're taking all the villains, and that's what made it good in a way, because you got the
Fair.
controversial guys that would kind of say stuff, and then you'd have a back and forth, and then you have an issue with this player and that player, then all of a sudden you got something.
Well, I
Right
feel like
now, it's
the other thing that they did so well, in my opinion, is that they were very strategic in getting players from around the world so that
Mhm.
they have the whole globe represented
Yeah,
with their teams all the time. Like I
yeah,
don't think that there's a spot on the planet that's being missed right now by the live teams.
I
Like at least that plays
no,
golf. And it's
yeah,
so to me, I mean, like long term, what I thought was so genius about it was is you're giving people an identifiable team to root for, like
mhm.
for nationalistic reasons, for
Yep,
identifiable reasons, and for players. I mean, like all of it. Like I felt like that. I thought that was very intelligent. Um,
hmm,
I don't know how long it'll last. I mean, like I hope that it continues on. I've actually enjoyed the team format, and I like team competitions, whether it's golf or anything. Like I always think it's cool when you have a group of people to root for as a fan. So, I mean,
no,
I like it. I think it's been, maybe long term good for golf as far as spurring some change. Short term, I think it's hurt the sport as far as people are less interested in watching. Ratings are down. Like
yeah,
I think advertising dollars are emptying out of the sport, not flooding into the
sure.
sport. So
Well,
see what
when
happens.
when you get like Wells Fargo backing out of a tournament they've been at in Charlotte forever,
Yeah, but they got
like,
their own reasons.
sure. I mean, you're, PGA Tour is coming up to him like, hey, we need another 5 million from you. It's like, what are we getting in return? And like you stated, other things, but
I was about to say the government has taken billions from them. So
yeah, yeah. But it's just like they've been there forever,
right.
and it's just like just to see it, like, nope, we're done. It's like, holy crap. So I think you gotta, just to go back to the team part of Live, somehow they got to lean harder into the team part. If
Hmm.
that's what it's supposed to be about, like some, or make the team pot bigger than an individual part. Like individual gets 4 million, and then what's the team splitting? Not each player doesn't even get 4 million if they win the
Yeah, I was
team.
about to say it's not. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think they each get 1 million or something like that.
it's weird. But lean into the team stuff. Like maybe there's only two or three events, or half the events, you're really worried about individual score, and get some team match play, get some
Yeah,
rivalries going. I mean, my opinion, that's where they screw. have screwed up the biggest is, oh, it's team golf. Shit, man, you barely do any of the team stuff, and it's hard to
Right.
follow. Sometimes you're like, I don't even know what the hell's going on.
Right.
Like who
I
is the best team? Like we don't know. Like you don't lean into anything.
It's fair. I think as some of these, or I'm curious to see, as some of these players like a Phil Mickelson get to retirement age, or like to where he's not competitive anymore, playing in the team aspect of it, or even
Yeah,
as an individual, like does he kind of go up into the box and does he become and stay an owner of the team? But now it looks more like a sports franchise where you have
hmm
people who now own the teams, but they are, they have players that they have hired essentially to play for their teams. I'm
yeah,
curious to see if that's their strategy as these players age out of playing, or if they just disappear and ownership structure changes, or if it
yeah,
lasts long enough. Who knows? But
yeah. I think that's probably the big idea, especially with the big name guys like your
Mhm.
Phils. And I think I don't think you have to worry about that with Kevin Na and the Ironheads. Like,
Not here, maybe, but over in Asia, I don't know. Like, I don't know
yeah,
if they've got
I
a
don't know. I don't know if they need a guy like Hideki to come over
right.
for that segment to work.
Hmm.
Yeah, you definitely need like a big gun. John Rahm, he could be that guy. Just got to play better. It's just,
What's the
yeah.
first live or when's the first live franchise that you see sold to somebody else, like sold to somebody who's an investor, essentially?
Mhm.
Like
I think that's around. I think
that's
that's going to be coming in the next 4 or 5 years. When,
right.
like I said, when Phil's probably got 4 or 5 years left,
Hmm.
probably. I'm not going to doubt the guy because he won a major at 50 at Kiowa, which is impressive as hell. Um, but it's like, yeah, it'd be really interesting. It'd be nice if it was a little bit more clear cut and we understood, like, what does
Right.
a team mean? Like, what does it mean? Like, what does it mean to be, on the high flyers, and what's the whole thing behind them? Like, who really owns it? Like,
Yeah,
there's just not, it's just like, yep, they're on the high flyers. Cool. Like,
I agree.
what does that mean? Like, how does that relate to me? And there's just outside of nationality, there's not a lot of, you
It
know,
reminds me of Major League Soccer. Like I'm like, okay, why do I care about
yeah,
these? Why do I care about them?
yeah. Well,
And I was, if they
the only way you
regionalize it,
can,
if they
right?
regionalize it, then it's like to me, I guess that's where, and maybe I kind of inferred that because it's like you said, like with Kevin Na's group, they're all Asian, or it's like
Yeah.
you've got the Australian team, and if you
Yep.
look when they have that when they're in Adelaide,
Oh
it,
God.
they are balls to the wall behind
Yeah.
the guys from Australia. Like so
100%.
for them, I guarantee you they're selling merchandise like crazy over there.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, I think the that event in Australia, I think, is the most attended and
Right.
event on Live. But I mean, the Australians are nuts for golf, and then you
They've
got
got
an
to do that here
Australian
though.
team. Oh
They
yeah,
got to
yeah,
do
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Like they've got to. I mean, even if Bryson's group is from Dallas, if they
Yep.
do, Phil's group from Phoenix, or however they do it, they've got to associate a hometown to them, or at least a home
Yeah.
region, because I think that that's where you'll start to see people identify with them and actually want to buy merchandise. Now, I mean,
Yeah.
if they want to make us executives and pay us a fee for this information, I'm fine with that too.
Yeah. Exactly. No, and that's why I'm like, it's interesting once the whole, the PIF and PGA Tour, that thing, like, does this team concept, come over and they can start selling the teams, let's say to manufacturers. Like, all right, now we got a
Yep.
team Callaway, we got a team Titles, we got a team Bridgestone. How, where do they start getting involved? So there's just a lot of what ifs right
Oh, I
now.
agree. And it's kind of cool because
Hmm.
it's one of those things to where they can take it a bunch of different directions. And if they're willing to be creative, like you said in the very beginning of this whole conversation, if they're willing to be open-minded, then sky's the limit probably for this whole thing. All
Yeah. So,
right. So you're taking Scottie and Rory. I've got Koepka and Brooks. What are we putting on this thing?
oh, what do we want? You want to do how about we do a bottle of Buffalo Trace?
Works for me. The
Okay,
big one.
done. The big one. The big one. Big bottle of Buffalo Trace.
Sold. All
You
right,
know
so
what?
we're
Let's
wrapping
drink it
this thing
together.
up for the amen. We're wrapping this thing up for the year. This has been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed what we've done. We kicked this thing off beginning of August. It was kind of a just simple idea, but it really has turned into a lot of fun. Uh, Do you have a favorite moment or a favorite episode that we've done throughout the last 3, 4 months?
I mean, it's been great just having the different guests and, highlighting their business a little bit, how they do things. I'm such a golf nerd. I'm gonna have to go with Stan. He's I just listen, hearing his knowledge depth, and to me, that's always fun to hear it from the horse's mouth and see the passion behind it and how much he enjoys it. That's what gets me as a coach. So
Yeah,
anything like that is always in my wheelhouse. And
that's
then
awesome.
always in mental game stuff. Those are my two. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I
What
think the
about
my favorite
what?
part about this, I don't even know that I could point at one guest. My favorite part about it is where people around the game think about it so much differently than what I do as an amateur and just as somebody who plays the game recreationally. And I love to hear whether it's club manufacturers like Jason Highland over at Sub
Yep.
70 talking about why they design clubs the way they do, or my buddy over at Pinhawk Golf, Aaron Bannock, talking about like their design of their one length clubs, or David Lake over at Single Length Irons, or one iron golf. I think that stuff is fantastic because I love seeing things made. I love, like truly creating something. I think that's fantastic. And to your point, the people around the mental game, just, framing things differently in your mind, thinking about the game
Yeah.
differently. I think that's awesome. Um, the travel stuff, like talking to the guys over at First Coast Golf. I mean,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
fantastic. Just hearing how it impacts our economy here in North Florida,
Yep.
bringing tourists in. I mean, I could go on, honestly. I mean, all of it's been fantastic. People
Oh, yeah.
people that create simple devices such as like, putt aim. I mean, my God, it's a
Yeah.
simple laser, but it's like they're selling like crazy, and it's like they've
Yeah.
created a business out of it. It's a family business, for God's sakes. And so it's all like, to me it's cool, and I can't wait to keep talking about it, keep having guests. I think whatever we choose to do in 2025, whether it's conversations like this talking about events, or if we have
Cool.
guests on talking about equipment or talking about anything around the game, it's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed it, and I want to thank you very much for taking this journey with me.
Yeah, I appreciate going along for the ride, and definitely came out of this thing with a lot more knowledge on different areas of the game that my focus isn't entirely on. I'm a coach at heart, but hearing from the club manufacturers, people kind of starting from ground zero and working it up, and they're the little guy against the big guy, and their
Yep.
stuff's really good too. So it's really cool to see that there are more options, especially for our target audience of, hey, they're out wanting to play the best golf they possibly can, but they don't have the time to put a ton of effort into it. Giving them at least some stuff that they can take and look into a little bit deeper. And I think, anyone listens, they got more questions for us. I think that we could just do a show on questions if we needed to. So
Absolutely.
we got a lot of openness in 2025. So we're always open to suggestions on that.
Amen to that. I think just take our own advice, be open and creative with what we do, and see what happens.
100%.
All right, Wes, I appreciate it. Guys, this is Jesse Stakes signing off for Making Sense of It All in our Professional at Anything But Golf series. We will catch you guys down the road.